Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. We're your hosts, Ellen Feldman-Ornato
and Jenny Drescher. We're talking with dynamic women from across the manufacturing scene in Connecticut.
Salay Quaranta. Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup.
Thank you.
It's so exciting to have
you. Say your name correctly, because I'm going to butcher it.
I think I just butchered it again. I knew it, but
that's okay. It's,
We'll do a phonetic. Yeah. So it's pronounced Salay Quaranta. Salay is my mother's maiden name. It's Slovenian, and Quaranta is Italian for 40, the number 40.
Oh, what a great way to remember that.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so cool. So when you were growing up, was this part of how you, dumb question. Was this part of how you landed in manufacturing? Was like having to learn how to explain your name every single day of the week?
No, but I have no problem when somebody, trips it, and it's totally fine. But I do have an appreciation for very unique names, and we can practice it together.
Nice. So you also work for a company with a unique name. Tell us about I'm going to let you pronounce it, employer, about the company that you work at and your role there.
Yes, it is pronounced Tsugami America. And we are a Swiss CNC lathe style machining equipment provider. And we are part of the Morris Group as well as Precision Tsugami. So we have Japanese roots and also American roots.
And apparently Swiss roots, because if they're Swiss style machines, then there must have been there's an influence in there. So this feels very global to me already. Like your world is very global. And before we started recording, you were saying that you lived in other places. So yes. Clearly you are like an adventurer and an appreciator of variety.
I am a big proponent for travel. If you can, you should. You gain so many experiences and you learn so much, whether it just be from a vacation or if you ever get the chance to travel and live abroad for your career, do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Do it. And I know you told us a little bit about your family growing up. Can you give the people listening out there an idea of how you grew up? Because I think your family and curiosity and the role that curiosity played is really unique.
I come from two parents that have always encouraged us to explore, challenge, understand deeply, and that has carried me through in my career as well. My father is a polymer chemist in the material science field, as am I. And then my mother is an industrial design and graphic designer. So I've got both the right brain and the left brain that I had to contend with growing up. But it has caused me to really explore things and think about things in a more global sense and bring that into my career as well.
I love that. I mean, what a tremendous gift to be able to have both of those sides of what life can be modeled right there, right? You can have a boatload of creativity and you can also have like science and logic, and that we need both of those things. So in your role, I'm not clear on exactly what you do in terms of day-to-day activities, but where does that show up for you at work? What do you notice about that?
I am serving as the vice president of sales for Tsugami. And part of that is to look after the commercial team that we have and also what we're doing as a company for that particular area of manufacturing. And our customers, our end users, if you may, be it distribution as well as different companies that are taking our equipment, are trying to make something themselves. Mm-hmm. So I get to interact at a variety of different places throughout the industry, be it medical device to automotive and aerospace, defense and ammunitions. It's not boring in the least. And that allows me to really tap into that creative mode while still remaining very grounded from the technical aptitude side.
Mm. And so Tsugami sounds like it's a fairly large organization. Have you always worked in large organizations?
No, I've been fortunate to work for contract service providers, or so-called job shops. That's where I started my career, to think tanks, and also then larger OEM machine tool companies. So I've been able to have multiple experiences in that way.
Wow, that is a really interesting mashup,
Yeah.
right? I find that very interesting. What do you think has been, I'm just thinking about our audience, right? And our audience, one of the things that we've heard back from folks who are listening to the podcast is how they really appreciate that people's roles and the stories folks are sharing on the podcast, never in a million years would they have thought they were there. That's a very consistent theme for everybody going into manufacturing. And then they say, oh my God, manufacturing is never boring. This is always interesting. So, like, if you saw a common thread between each of the beats you just identified, what is that for you?
I think for my particular self, it has been just put yourself out there and try it. And I'll explain. I started out in a very, I guess, traditional way where I had a material science and engineering degree from the University of Connecticut here in the state. Great program, fantastic professors.
Woohoo!
And
Go UConn! Go Connecticut!
Go
Oh
Huskies.
yeah!
Go Huskies.
Oh yeah!
And I landed at the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, working as an intern on their Joint Strike Fighter and the F-135 program, literally just looking at how we drill with a laser different cooling holes in their blades, and got completely hooked into, wow, this is some cool stuff.
Honestly,
And
like even hearing you describe that, I'm like hooked on the idea of just standing there watching that happen. Right?
lasers are
really
freaking
cool, right?
awesome. Lasers are
Right?
fantastic. And from there, it became all right, I think I'm really into understanding how to manipulate a material using this particular type of a tool. And where can I go now? I like talking to people. I like serving as a bit of a translator, because sometimes engineering speak can be very hard and it can be very black and white. And
What? No,
yeah.
no.
And,
What?
Can you speak
and then
English
that
for me,
led
please?
me into And that led me into sales and business development roles.
Mm.
I then moved into working for a company called Joining Technologies. They are a contract service provider of laser welding and additive manufacturing offerings here, also in the state of Connecticut. And then from that, I went back into engineering actually as an applications engineer, and I changed roles to a company called Stanadyne, also still state of Connecticut at that time, in fuel filtration and gasoline direct injection. Then I guess grew into product management, where you have this nice cross section of trying to figure out where the technology and the emerging frontier works to what the industry needs are from a sales commercial point of view. So more business technology blend.
Mm.
And then again, I love lasers. So I went to Trump, a wonderful company in Farmington, Connecticut, and joined on their laser technology side of the business, worked for them doing industry management for medical for a number of years before then moving over into their machine tools, CNC flat sheet two-dimensional cutting called True Laser as a product manager with a bunch of applications engineers, sales engineers. And then now I am at Tsugami, where we do integrate a laser. So there's a touch of laser in there.
Mhm.
And we offer our machines to, as I said, a number of different companies. So it is not boring in the least. If you want to hop the fence from engineering to sales to business development to marketing to any of these different roles within the manufacturing world, you can do it.
Yeah, I love the different beats of what you've just described, because I feel like I could draw a little Venn diagram with you in the middle, and the parts of it that you're using that are so important for our audience to really take this one home, friends, is that there's like one circle has engineering, right? Like left brain, linear lasers, right? Like precision, and that sort of part of the brain. Then there's this other piece that is about people and understanding that the work you do people have to get it. People have to understand it in order to be able to do something with it. So another piece of that Venn diagram is understanding and communications. And then there's this other piece that is, what does this mean for the world? Right. So this Venn diagram, it's really kind of oddly shaped, but it's got you at the middle and it's got like 5 points, almost like a star. And you're not worrying about how you cross from one of those spaces into the next. How have you been able to just say, like, what does it look like for you to say, just put myself out there and try it? Like, how have you, like, where does that come from in you that makes you willing to just cross over from, well, I think right now people are important. Right now, lasers are important. I mean, obviously, I think the theme here today is lasers are important, but still, like, what is inside you that allows you to do that?
It's a lot of support and confidence that I've had to build up over the years. Not to say that that internal, side of me isn't always going, oh, that looks scary, and that could be really tough. But you have to build that up and say, I can, I can jump. I will jump. Okay, let's see how high I can jump. And once you've attained, I think, a bit of that, and you recognize this is possible, it gets easier and it gets easier, and you can jump higher and you can go farther. Not to say, though, again, I don't also have my points where it's like, wow, I am needing to tap into my support network to remind me, you can do it and you will do it. Now go do it.
Well, and that's exactly what I was going to ask you about is, none of us go this alone. So what does your support network look like? Who do you turn to for career advice or, engineering or business advice? Like, what is that support network for you, and what has it been during your career as well?
It's multifaceted. I have a group of individuals, some of them going back even to college, that I stay in touch with, and they have just amazing energy. Some of them girl boss energy as well. And we get together throughout the year. And then I have a great husband who's standing, next to me and also pushing me from behind, saying, go, what do you want to do? You can do this. My colleagues too are fantastic. We constantly challenge each other. We have fun. We poke at each other. They're always laughing because I have 17 questions for them. So they're always like, Salay, you've already asked, question 1. I'm still answering that. And your brain's on question 7. So we have a good time together and we motivate in that way. So it's a multifaceted group for me. As I said, my parents, my brother, my sister, it's all over the place, depending on, what my needs are, be it business or personal, because it's a challenge. It's a very crazy world. Manufacturing can be tough. It can be exhaustive. It can be really creative and inspiring. And I've had a couple of moments where it's come full circle for me that, yeah, this has been worth my effort and my time. And it's been a beautiful experience so far.
Do you have a full circle moment in mind? Do you have a quick story you can tell us where you went?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So when I was at Joining Technologies as an applications engineer, we had a company that makes twisted wire brushes come to us, and they used to cap them off with acrylic. These brushes are used in a variety of applications, from medical and cell collection or cytology to cleaning, sometimes even cosmetics. I think they may even be used for mascara brushes. Any case, the acrylic was popping off. So they asked us, can you take the remainder of that twisted wire on the brush and just ball it up? Again, use your laser, ball it up. And we were successful. We were able to do this. That was way back in 2009. Fast forward then to, it was, I think, 2017. I was sitting in a doctor's office waiting for the doctor, as we all do, then looking at every poster and reading everything that's in the room. And then I noticed this brush was there on the table. And the doctor comes in, introduces herself, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what this is. I helped work on this thing. This has been something that touched somebody's life and came full circle for me. And it was a great moment of like, yeah, this is why we do what we do.
I made that thing. Right?
I made
There's a
it.
little bit of
I,
love
I,
that.
I
that
helped
thing.
that. I helped
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
And in the Venn diagram that I drew in my mind of you, then that's like where your life hit and the world intersect, right? That's right there. Like you as an engineer, you as a chemist, you as a person who clearly also loves people, making an impact in the world.
That's what interconnects all of us in this particular manufacturing space. Every single one of us enjoy the fact that we're creating something. We have a hand, be it you're in marketing and HR, be it you're a quality engineer, or be it you're in leadership. Every single one of us is bound by that passion and that glue that is, we make stuff and
Mhm.
it's out there and we can point to it.
Mm. What has
And
been the role of the artist's mind in that for you? Because you clearly have a strong creative engine, and I feel like there's a segment of our population right now in Connecticut who is saying, I have so much to give, I have so much to bring, I have a creative spirit. And um, it's hard to do that being an artist. And I would never discourage anybody from being an artist, but it often doesn't pay the bills. But I sense this like
Hmm.
artist side of you that shows up through your work.
It
Like,
does. It absolutely does. And I can tell you also another story example of it. For me, it's recognizing that you again have to take the language of engineering, science, mathematics, and you have to sometimes translate that. So the way we communicate can't always be so black and white, logically linear. You have to find analogies. You have to find other methods, sometimes very artistically, to convey what it is that you're trying to prove, analyze, demonstrate, sell. All of this kind of interweaves into then for me, where I have tried to always remember left brain, right brain. How am I talking to somebody? Whom am I talking to? How am I explaining myself or this thing in hand? And I had a really good example of that when I was traveling in the Czech Republic. Actually, I visited a company there, an automotive company. And we got to the meeting. I was the engineering technical representative, and we recognized pretty quickly none of us spoke the same language.
mm,
This was before Google Translate and all of the apps we have available. So not everyone in the room spoke enough of a common language, Spanish, German, Czech. We went through all of them. And eventually what we decided was get a whiteboard. And we had a very productive and the entire meeting at the whiteboard with math and drawings. And it was amazing. It was a moment of connection without having to be able to speak to each other and still show we can get something done and we can get something accomplished.
love
God, I
that.
love everything about that. That is so exciting. And I'm going to map that over as a shakeup factor from today's episode because we've got you mentioned CCAT and I know that you have a STEM background, and one of our agenda items here, unapologetically at the Shakeup, is to invite young people that are out in the world to really start exploring STEM and what's available to them. And you're an amazing example of what's possible for women and men and cats and whoever to explore in STEM and what's possible to make out of it, and that you don't have to leave the creativity behind. You don't have to leave that inner part of you that says, but I have, I want to be more than numbers. I want to be both. I want to use both sides of my brain. There's a testament to the fact that you can have this really elevated way of operating in the world by pursuing STEM, even if you might have an artistic bent. I think you're a
And
very
I think
special person in
that's a
that way.
very important thing too, because we're going to then be observers. We have to be constant observers of the world around us, and you never know when something's going to come back and be the right impulse for you
Mhm.
a couple years later, or you're going to pull from something that you saw or that you just had a casual conversation about. Try to remain very observant and be very open to these experiences because yes, they could be just very simple throwaway things at the moment in time, but then be very impactful later for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's, again, part of where this intersection is with people, like observing people, knowing you're a person in the world, taking your role as a citizen to that place. Ellen, you were going to say something. I just stomped on you.
So, okay. I was just going to ask, where do you see competitive volleyball figuring into all of this? Because I think that's an interesting thing that people wouldn't guess about you just looking at you, is that you played competitive volleyball. So how did your experience as an athlete, and you still play, right? How does that contribute to who you are?
I do. So I come from a family of very intense, very competitive, even with each other, players. There's no such thing as an easy backyard game of volleyball between us. And we have, I think, because of that, started to gain a foundation of grit and tenacity. And that has, I think, also really helped as a woman in this industry, trying to grow and trying to achieve things and trying to push myself and others in business, in engineering. And that has sustained me in certain moments where I had to be kind of forged, if you may, to draw on my materials there a bit. And you also have a degree or an element in volleyball of strategy. You need to know whom you're playing against and where that ball is in relation to the court, to your position, to what you're going to then set up. And you get to be very able to hone your abilities to, as we say in business, see around a corner. But in sport, it's predict the play. And I've been able to balance that in my life and in career. And, it's all over the place between all of my family life, which is crazy with kids, and demanding career, and trying to participate in our community that we have here in Connecticut, and on and on. So the volleyball has helped to create a foundation of grit.
Awesome. I love that. I'm going to grab that as our second shake-up factor. That there's more to game night than we might think, friends. Game night could be the producer of grit. So if you are a parent out there and you have young kids and you're like, oh man, the world is tough. How do I help my kids galvanize so that they can really feel sturdy, like they can do any number of things? Maybe more at game night than you think. Break 100%. Out the volleyball. Love that.
100%. It's an outlet. It is a very big outlet.
Nice. There's a triple G there. Gritty games galvanize. You just gave me that. Gritty games galvanize. I love that. The GGG. So thank you so much for joining us. We are running down the clock on time here, but the last shake-up factor for today is lasers are wicked cool. That's, just
lasers are cool. Manufacturing rocks.
Yeah.
Find your grit.
Find your grit.
There you go.
And use both sides of your brain. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you modeling science and creativity for the world.
Thanks. You both.
Thanks for listening to the Manufacturing Shakeup. You can listen to us each week on your favorite podcast app. You'll find us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And if you use the hashtag MFG Shakeup, we will see them and really appreciate your spreading the word about what you're hearing and learning each week. Hey, Jenny, did I forget anything?
Yes, you did. Here's the most important bit. You may have learned something from that guest. They may have told a story about, oh, here's what I did and here how it worked. Here at the Manufacturing Shakeup, we are all about action. So take some nugget of what you heard today and put it into practice, even if it's small and experimental. Get busy, get dangerous, go shake stuff up, and bring people along with you. Go take an action, post it on social media. Let's have some fun.
The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.